Okay, we're connected now. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Namaste. Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, band. Thank you, my mother, my father. So, I love mornings like this when I come in and I know what I'm going to be talking about, as opposed to those mornings where I have no idea. No, I always know what I'm going to be talking about, but I love mornings like this when I know that I'm coming in to talk about something perhaps a little provocative, perhaps a little, I laughed because last week Kevin said to me, during Easter I said that I was going to write a book called Saving Jesus from the Christians. And Kevin said to me when we got home, he said, "What do you think the odds are anyone else said that this Easter? Any other minister said that during their Sunday service?" And I said, "I don't know." So, when there is love, I can't wait to talk about it. That's how Jason Mraz starts this song. When there is love, I can't wait to talk about it. Is your life right now, where you are in it, a thing that you just can't wait to talk about? Is there so much passion in your life, so much excitement in your life, so much in your life that you just can't wait to get out that you just have to talk about it? I know Reverend Nancy opened in a new play last night. I didn't see it yet. So, and I know she just can't wait to talk about it because I barely got to her seat and she was out of it and on me with a beautiful hug. And I looked at her and I said, "Nancy, I don't know what you've been doing, except I do know what you've been doing, but you look 10 years younger today. After all these rehearsals and making it through an opening night, she just looks like a vision of joy and passion." And she is. She's living her passion. I love that. So that's my question to all of you. Do you have that in you so profoundly that you just can't wait to do it? Can't wait to talk about it? Well, here's the thing. Alex set me up so beautifully in his talk. When there is love, when you know that you are love, that's what you are. You're not looking for it. You're not trying to get it, but you are it. You just can't wait to share it, to talk about it. He goes on to say, when things get rough, I like to walk with you. Or when it's night, I like to be the light that's missing and remind you every minute of the future isn't written. Every minute of the future isn't written, not yet. The future isn't written for you, not yet. There is no future that's already destined to you, not yet. The title of my talk today is, Where is it written? Where is it written? ... Last night, I had dinner with Michael Palin, who wrote and directed the movie Three Magic Words. And he and his wife, his new wife, came over to the house. And I've been waiting for this night to sit with this man who took that book, Three Magic Words, and made a movie out of it, a movie that, how many of you were here for that movie? Wasn't it? It was just, what a night. I've now watched that movie about 6 times. So sitting with him and his wife, who's from Hungary, who was interestingly said to me, "You know, this whole idea, I am God, in Hungary is just taken for granted." She said, the movement there is so profoundly interested in this. She said, "But here I find it different. I am God is blasphemy somehow, and it's not really wearing well on people's minds." And it was fascinating what we talked about, and what Michael and I were talking about was the fact that the problem with I am God is that we take it as a religious statement. And the evening was really a lot about religion. You know, religion has taken such a bad rap to most people, even though it seems like it hasn't because there's so much religion out there. But a lot of that religion out there is out there because people have to be a part of religion because they're afraid if they're not, they will be damned. It's not because they can't wait to talk about their religion. It's because I have to do this because I'm a sinner and I have to make sure I stay in alignment with God out there so that when I die, I will go to heaven. How many of you have seen the new movie, Heaven is for Real, that just came out? Right? I went to see it, and I'm not really going to talk about it much because it left me thoughtful. You know, when people say, what'd you think? It was interesting. And interesting takes a whole new meaning, right? But it left me thoughtful because I'm not ready to talk about it yet because for me, The movie was highly weighted in a propaganda place of Christianity that didn't fit well with me, and yet I was able to sit and watch it and still understand that the conversation itself makes the movie important for us to talk about. And it was funny when we left the theater, because Will and Nora were really waiting for me to tell them what I thought of the movie. But they couldn't, I wasn't going to tell them. So they basically just both had to tell me that they hated it. Really, they were like, we hated that, oh my God. And then to my right was my husband, who loved it. So here's I hated it, I loved it, and I'm like, I'm thoughtful. And it's not like me to not have an opinion if you know me. I can go on forever and have an opinion and tell you why this opinion is what it is, but I don't really have that big of an opinion about this because so much of it was just provocative to me, brought up thoughts. So Michael Palin and I were talking last night about religion and religious, and so the question I have for us today is this, and I'd like you to really ponder this. Is what we're doing here today, right here, right now, is what we're doing here today religious? Is this religious? Are you here for a religious experience? And what does that mean? Because if you're here for a religious experience, I fear you may have come to the wrong place. Just go with me on this. Religion itself. Is it possible that religion itself is starting to outdate itself so much so that the younger generation has no interest, for the most part, in what we are doing? Now, they're finding their own ways to do it. Some of them, but not a lot. Pockets of it, but not a lot. Many of the younger generation is still being dragged along by parents that insist they go to church. So what are we doing here? What are we doing in this thing called religious science? What are we doing? Because the irony is that the same message I'm presenting week after week after week can be presented on a philosophical, psychological point of view, from that point of view, and not even go into a religious point of view. I am God doesn't have to be religious. In fact, the religiosity of it is what keeps people from it. I am God, understanding what God is understanding that God is an energy, a life force, love. That's not religion, certainly not a lot of most religion. That's what God is. When I say I am God, I'm not trying to indoctrinate you into a religion. I am just trying to make everyone aware of who we are, what's capable, what's possible with this. The word church really may not fit, and I know a lot of you tell me it doesn't fit for you. But basically, we're just kind of following what's written. So the title of my talk, where is it written that this has to be called a church? Where is it written that what we're doing has to be called a religion? Where is it written anything? Wow, that was pretty high, wasn't it? My own voice went, don't go there. Where is it written that anything we say is what it is other than what's behind it? Where is it written? And why are we reading it? And why are we following it, really? Is it written down just because we're buying into it? Is that why it's staying there? We keep buying into one paradigm after another paradigm. And those of us that want to change the paradigm, it's difficult sometimes. Like Alex's story, it's a difficult paradigm to literally stand amidst so many conditions and wigglers and effects of life and say, no, I am this. When all the people were hanging on him and he just said, heal yourself, and they all disappeared, it's because he literally stepped into a paradigm no one was willing to hear or wanting to hear. But it was so powerful, they left. They probably went off to find someone else to heal them. But Jesus was saying, no, heal yourself as I do. That's a whole new thing. Unfortunately, 2,000 years later, we're not really stepping into that yet. We are here. So, lyrics. When there is love, or when the heart feels heavy, we can lighten it up if you've had enough. Well, you can empty your glass and fill it back up. You know it's up to us to make it all up. So what you making up? What you making up? Sometimes I think we're making up what's been written down for us to make up. Sometimes I think we are not making it up from the infinite possibility of the universe. We're making it up from everything that's taken us to this point. I know this, I know this, I know this, so I'm going to make this up. That's not making it up. That's reading what's been written already. So what would it take for you and I to literally make it up? Rick Tamlin and Chuck Lioy, their company is called It's All Made Up. And that's really Rick's whole gig around the world as he goes in and facilitates businesses. It's about, you can make it up any way you want to make it up. You don't have to go with what's been written so far. Every single one of you is here right now with a full written document of your life. The problem is most of us think that what's been written is what's going to take us here. It is, because that's how we believe it works. But where is it written that in an instant you can change it all up? In an instant, truly in an instant. That's written in the mind of truth. That's the only written down that I ever need to pay attention to. This one truth, that it's all possible all the time. So, Alex read it, which is amazing that you read that Ernest Holmes quote about who are you? But I'm going to ask you to really ask yourself that today. Who are you? And this is what we're doing in CPR right now. Today is all about, are you bold enough to ask yourself, who am I? As your day plays out, as your life plays out, when something happens, are you bold enough to say, who am I? One of our CPR members who's sitting in this room right now wrote a blog for the first time the other day. We're on day 26, I believe. Right? Wrote a blog for the first time, and she basically wrote, I guess this is really starting to make sense to me because I was in the middle of some condition that normally would have just sent me over the edge. And instead, I just went, wait a minute, that's not the truth. I know who I am. And it brought tears to my eyes because I know this person. And I thought to myself, that's the journey. That's the journey. Where is it written that I am controlled by my conditions? Where is it written that I have a destiny that I have to live because that's how my parents lived it? Where is it written that I can't be exactly who I want to be, doing exactly what I want to be doing, loving my life at all times so that I can't wait to tell you about it? Where is it written that can't be the case? Unfortunately, it's written everywhere we look almost. So our job is to stop reading what's written and to start making it up, really making it up. You want a different life? Go have a different life. There comes a time when the universe is just sitting there going, I am so tired of you telling me you want a different life and then going out and living your old damn life. Can't you just see the law as it's sitting there? Put yourself in the law's shoes. It's exhausted. Trying to give you what you say you want, but it can't because you won't do what you say you want. You're not making it up, folks. We are not making it up. We're living the word that's been written. But I'm here today to ask you, where is it written? So who are you? Because I'm going to tell you right now who you are not. And I went over this list, and there are probably lots of things I'm missing, but I'm going to hit these. You are not your job. You are not your career. You are not your financial status. You are not your age. You are not your physical appearance. You are not your friends. You are not your family. You are not your husband, your wife, your lover. You are not your children. You are not your zip code. You are not the car you drive. You are not the clothes you wear. You are not your pet. Just to be clear. You are not your nationality. You are not your color. You are not straight or gay or transgender or gender neutral or whatever gender thing comes up. You're none of it. You are not your behavior, even. You're not your conditions. You're not your feelings. You're not your emotions. You are not your personality. You are not your diagnosis. You are not your body. You are not your weight. You are not your hair color, as beautiful as it may be. You are not your country. You are not your politics. And you are not your religion. So not to leave you on a negative, if you're not any of those things, if I'm not any of those things, I am not in the entertainment business. I am not a minister. That's not who I am. It's what I do with who I am. So if you're none of those things, if you're willing to go with me and not be any of those things, then you've got to answer the question, who are you? Who are you? Because frankly, unless you're willing to go to that answer, that truthful answer, you're not ready to make it all up. You're still caught on all those other things, where it's written that you're a woman, where it's written that you have red hair, where it's written that you wear this type of clothing, where it's written that you have this career, where it's written that you're married to this person, where it's written that you have these children. I am willing to not be any of those things, but to do those things brilliantly when I choose. But to know who's doing it. That was the other part of Ernest Holmes' quote. Who's talking here? Who is living this life called James Mellon? Who's living it? I mean, I know I am, but who's the I? When I do that exercise of I am here, I am here, I am here. I am, I am, I am. I. Now what? What's back of that I? That's where I want to get to. Because right there, everything's possible. Everything's probable. The infinite resources of the universe are there for you to make whatever you want out of. Backing it all up into the I am. Who am I? I am God. But now let's take the religion away from God, and let's just call it what it is. Greatness on demand. G-O-D. Greatness on demand. That's who you and I are. We are greatness. And the minute we decide to demand it from ourselves, it appears. The minute I say, I am, and step into whatever that am is, now my greatness appears. There was an actress I was working with, and I said to her, I said, you know, almost every time your first choice is a safe choice. And I have to kill myself to get you to a performance. I would rather you start with the brilliance, and then let's play with it. Stop being so safe. Don't give me your safe choice. And I know it because the voice is soft and it's like uncertain and it's sort of, here's my line. It's like, who are you? What is that? Suddenly I turn into, Shecky Green. Who are you? So ask yourself, am I the safe choice? Am I still living in what's been written? Or am I the brilliance of life, greatness on demand? Am I God, so much so that I always come from the brilliance first, and now I can play? They're the actors you want to work with as a director. I want the actress or the actor that's going to walk in and be so dynamically creative on the first time. And then I'm like, oh my God, great, how about this, how about that? And the sparks fly everywhere. That's the way we get to live our lives when we actually step into I am God. I am God, and not in the religious sense. Greatness on demand and energy. Somewhere in our minds we have accepted what's been written. And here's the deal, you wrote it. Even though you think other people wrote it, if it's on your mind, you put it there. Because it doesn't matter what someone has said to you, you have to take it and then write it on your own mind. So if someone says to you, I love what Mary Marcy talked about, if someone says to you as a child, you can't sing, just mouth it, pretend you're singing, but you don't know how to sing. And then you buy that, put it on your mind, you spend a lifetime not singing. Now add whatever, put into that space whatever happened to you. Now you know. It's not written. Where is it written? It's written somewhere out there, and that's not who you have to be. You can unwrite whatever you want this morning, but you have to do the work to live the results. You have to do the work and actually answer the question, who am I? And when the answers come up like, well, I'm my job. I am a nurse. I am this. You have to be willing to say, no, that's what I do. Who am I? Because if we all really walked this planet as God, I think many of us would choose different things to do because we wouldn't feel relegated to what's been written for us to do. So, the question is, are you really ready to know yourself? Really ready to know yourself, and not in some religious way. And not just when you come to church on Sunday mornings, because this is not church. This is a place for you to come to be yourself, to meet yourself, to find out who you are. And I don't need to call it church. I don't need to call it anything. Where is it written that I have to call this church? I get to make it up. You get to make it up. So are you really ready to know yourself? Really ready to know your true self? Are you willing to know your true self? Can you commit yourself to simply asking yourself in the midst of the most extraordinary conditions, who am I? I guarantee you, if you step into this work, who am I? In the midst of whatever's going on, who am I? You're not your little temper tantrum. You're not your anger. You're not your disappointment. You're not your heartache. You're not your history. You're not your mother, your father, your sister, your brother. You're not any of it. That's not who you are. The sooner we can separate ourselves from our conditions, step away from the wigglers that are out there just saying, look at me, look at me. How many of those do you have going on right now? Right? Look at me. I had one yesterday and I literally stopped and I went, oh my God, look at that wiggler. I said, who's looking at that wiggler? Who am I? All falls into perspective. So you have to be willing, really willing. Where is it written that anything is the truth of your life? Where is it written? Only on your mind. That's it. And your mind is your mind. Where is your mind buying what's been written? It's time to return that crap. Anything that you don't buy it. And if you don't want it, return it. Get it out of your mind. So Jason Mraz, what brilliant lyrics. I love this song. He says, what you making up? What you making up? In order to really live this understanding that I get to make up my life any way I choose, I have to know who's making it up. I have to be willing to know who's making it up so that I am not depending on what's been written to make it up for me. Where is it written that you don't get to live the life you want to live? Doesn't matter, does it? Where is it written that you get to decide exactly what you want to do with your life and exactly how you want to live your life? Right here. This is where it's written, right here. And I'm not pointing to the physical thing called my mind or my brain. I'm talking about consciousness. And I can only know consciousness where I am in mind thinking. That's where it's all written down. Consciousness. So when you go through today, just start today, start now, asking yourself, who am I? In any situation you're in any relationship you're in any moment in time where you have anything going on that even begins to affect you, who am I? And what that answer is going to come back to you if you give yourself enough time to hear it is, I am that which thou art. I am that. I am. And that, I am that. Whatever you decide, it's really up to you. Whatever you decide. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you, Troy. Thank you.